Welcome to the Big Success Show. Today, hear from the founder and CEO of PopSockets on why doing good is good business. Brought to you by FinancialFreedomTool.com.
Tips to be your best with the professor and Mary-Lynn for your big success.
We are so happy to be joined today by David Barnett. David is a recovering philosophy professor turned entrepreneur and founder of PopSockets, the original phone grip.
And if you don't use his product, chances are you definitely know somebody who does. We could say more, but we have so many questions for David. We want to get started. Welcome to the Big Success Show, David.
Thank you so much.
See, our show is the Professor and Mary-Lynn, but what's really cool about today is that it's the Professor, and Mary-Lynn. So there we go.
Mary-Lynn, we're going to give you an honorary degree today. We'll just call you Professor
there we go. So are you a professor in entrepreneurship, inventing? What's going on?
Oh, I haven't professed in a little while. So I was a professor of philosophy. I taught at, first Davidson, then University of Vermont, a little bit at NYU, and then last at University of Colorado before I left philosophy for the world of plastic trinkets.
Well, and I got to ask you, David, because I think this is a common misperception on people's parts. What did philosophy teach you about business?
How to solve problems.
Excellent. I think that so many people think they got to have the right degree, and the reality is get a degree, and then you're probably going to be okay from there, because in like philosophy, psychology, I mean, all these fields, you use those skills in the world of business.
Yeah, I recommend, I don't know how many people have actually taken this advice, but when I talk to people on their way into college, I highly recommend something that just stimulates their thinking. So anything that's going to give them practice in solving problems. That could be chemistry, physics, economics, something stimulating and challenging.
Absolutely.
So where did this idea for PopSockets come from?
It came from, somewhere in my brain, ultimately, I guess.
What was the problem you needed to solve?
I like to take credit for it, but really it's kind of a passive process when you have an idea. You kind of sit around and wait, and either you're lucky and you have one or you don't. I was motivated by my frustration with my earbuds. My earbud, back when they had cords, my cords were always tangled when I took my earbuds out of my pocket. So one day, out of frustration, I hopped in my car and drove down the canyon here in Boulder to local Jo-Ann Fabric to look for a solution, and I ended up gluing a couple of giant clothing buttons to the backside of my iPhone 3. This was probably in 2011, I think.
Okay.
Or 2010. I'm starting to lose track.
Yeah.
But wrap my headset around underneath these buttons. There was a little spacer button between each big button and the back of my phone, so there was a little space for me to wrap my headset. And these two giant buttons covered the back of my tiny little iPhone 3 back then. So I solved my cord tangle problem and faced a new problem, which was that it looked ridiculous and it didn't have much further functionality. So I started tinkering with ways to get the buttons to expand and collapse for more functionality, to act as stands and grips and clips, and then also to make it look a little more respectable.
And so all along while you were doing this, were you just thinking, look, I'm just trying to fix this problem I'm having? Or at some point, did you start thinking, hey, maybe if I perfect this, maybe this is something that I could market?
Yep. At some point, so after settling on the accordion mechanism as the mechanism to get the buttons to expand and collapse, settled on that mechanism, filed a provisional patent application, and I had these big, goofy prototypes on the back of my phone. I was walking across campus and ran into some 7th grade kids who were on the college campus, not sure why. They saw these goofy prototypes on the back of my phone, and their jaws just dropped, and their eyes went into this, zombie state where they were drooling over them, and they said, "Where can we get those?" And I remember thinking, okay, I could actually sell these if I could miniaturize it and commercialize it.
So from there, it was just easy, right? It was a cakewalk.
That's right. I worked on it on average about 10 to 15 minutes a day, only on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and then got rich within a few months.
Sounds fantastic, David. Could you sign me up for a program like that?
I know. We can find your Get Rich tour.
Yes, there may be another product there.
So,
That's right.
okay, so you've got something, and you realize that you got something. So you got to start up a business, right?
Yeah, and when you say I realized it, that experience with the kids definitely gave me confidence because nobody around me realized it. My friends, family continued to think it was a stupid idea. Most people that I showed it to, even when it was perfected and ready for the market, people would laugh at it and just say that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Nobody's going to ever buy that.
So let me make sure I understand, David. So you've got all of these. I mean, you're a PhD in philosophy. You've got all these really smart people around you telling you it's crazy, but you've got these seventh graders who say you think it's great, and that's who you're listening to.
For sure.
Makes complete sense.
I'll take a group of seventh grade girls over philosophy professors any day for anything practical.
Coming up, hear about how a Kickstarter campaign, celebrities, and a wildfire helped launch the PopSocket business after this message from our sponsor, FinancialFreedomTool.com. Plenty of money for life.
Do you stress over money? Who doesn't? Let the Financial Freedom Tool ease your mind by pinpointing opportunities to improve your financial picture. Take control so you feel empowered to move ahead with confidence. Learn more at FinancialFreedomTool.com.
Today we're talking with David Barnett, a former philosophy professor who created a device found on millions of smartphones. But it wasn't created overnight.
Yeah, David. Now, according to what we've read, about 2 years into the development of PopSockets, you'd gone through about 60 prototypes. Does that sound right?
Probably more. I did about 60 rounds of prototyping with China. Each round could have been anywhere from 1 to 10 different models that I was prototyping.
Oh, man, that's amazing. I mean,
what is that process like? I mean, how much time and money does that take, just the prototyping process?
A lot of time, decent amount of money, not huge quantities. Maybe it was, I don't remember, a couple $100 for these. These were not just simple prints on a 3D printer. They had to do a cast urethane to get the elastomeric accordion to get something flexible. So they were more expensive than your typical prototypes, but it took a lot of time to CAD these up, so model them in SolidWorks, and then it was just experimenting with what would flex correctly. Well, what would flex in the first place? My first prototypes didn't flex at all. They were like silver dollars, just rock hard. And to get them to actually expand, collapse, be stable, collapse, and completely collapse and stay completely collapsed, it was a ton of work.
And I want to be clear of something, make sure our audience understands something, and that is, I mean, you didn't have a degree in business. You also aren't an engineer.
That's right.
So you're talking about CAD. I mean, where did you learn these skills?
I taught them myself. So, I mean, that's where the problem solving, I think, in philosophy comes in. If you can develop the skill of solving problems, it's not so much different in engineering than from philosophy, from physics. Doesn't really matter what the subject matter is. It's they're all problems, and the method is roughly the same. You set out what the possible solutions are, and then start testing and figure out what the right solution is with evidence and data. So I originally had some graduate students in the engineering center doing some CAD work for me, and I just got too frustrated waiting for them to make little corrections for a few days and then have me tell them what to change again. So I taught myself. I'm the world's leading expert in making accordions with SolidWorks. And I know nothing. I can't do anything else in that program except make accordions.
That's something.
So, a lot of people will say, okay, third time's the charm, but you hugging in there 60 some odd prototypes. How are you able to keep
60
yourself?
rounds.
60 rounds. I'm
Hundreds
sorry.
of prototypes, right?
I mean, how are you able to keep yourself from not just saying, okay, maybe I should stop? There's something beyond philosophy that keeps you going.
It's called arrogance. So what is it? I don't know. It's a bug. So it's that bug that entrepreneurs have, I guess, that makes them not want to give up and persevere in the face of failure. I don't know. I think it's just genetic. Since I was a kid, I like to finish a project, and until the project's finished, I'm not going to stop.
You sound like a stubborn cuss. That's what I'm thinking.
There you go. Stubbornness and arrogance. Some kind of combination.
What a combination, right? So now let me ask you, just at this point then, I mean, you're getting ready now to launch the business, to actually start making sales. About how much money do you think you had invested all in at that point, David?
By the time I launched, several $100,000. So
Okay.
I had spent all of my savings, which was not a lot. I was a philosophy professor making less than most people in my company make right out of college today.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was making a lot of money, didn't have a lot of savings, but then fortunately my house burned down in a forest fire here in Boulder, and
But you said fortunately.
fortunately, just at the right time, I did not start the fire. I got money from for the contents of the home that I didn't need to replace all of them. So I got a new empty home, and used a lot of the insurance money for the contents
Okay.
on that business too.
Yes.
You
That's
got
what
it.
you call making lemonade out of lemons, right?
That's right.
Wow. That's it.
total,
That's just
maybe-
incredible.
Maybe I spent I forgot what it is. This was after launching too. I was still spending money, but I think maybe I spent 300, maybe 300 to 400,000. I raised another 400 or 500,000 over 2 or 3 years from just people that I'd meet around town. They were interested. So in total, maybe $800,000 was raised, 800 or 900. Yeah.
And to make sure it's clear to our audience, I think somewhere in the research we did, no institutional money, though. This was all friends and other ways of coming up with the cash.
Yeah, half of that was mine. So really,
Okay.
what I raised was
400.
maybe 400. I forgot $400,000 maybe.
Okay.
And that was just people I'd run into. No way would any institutional investor have invested in me, and they shouldn't have either. I had no record, no expertise.
And so now, fast forward, you're making sales. Not only are you making sales, you're making lots of sales, and you've got celebrities coming out and saying that they love the PopSockets. What happened?
It was luck. So I had a Kickstarter campaign in 2012 around a case with 2 of these grips that expanded and collapsed flush in the case. And then I launched the business 2 years later in 2014. I was still a philosophy professor, so I launched the business out of my garage. In 2014, we're now in our 6th year of business. And those first 2 years, 2014 and 15, were tough. It wasn't until the end of 2015 that we got into retail stores. But while they were tough, as you say, celebrities started using them. I forgot when, maybe at the end of 2014, early 2015, it became popular around Hollywood. So we were seeing celebrities, I don't know, Ryan Seacrest, Gigi Hadid, Meg Ryan, I think. A long list of celebrities were showing up on Instagram, People Magazine, just with these PopSockets grips in their hands. And several people have tried to take credit for getting them in their hands, but I don't know the real story. We certainly didn't pay them, and we didn't seed them deliberately. They just started spreading. It was fortunately the cool thing to have among celebrities. So we saw on our heat map of sales quite a few sales in the LA area. So there was a fire burning there, and then a fire burning around Denver where we were seeding middle schools as fundraisers. We were selling them to middle schools, and they'd resell them and take the profits and invest in the schools. So the middle school kids were using them, and it was becoming popular among that group, and then celebrities at the same time in LA, and that's how we got our start.
Wow.
And then, since that time, you've grown about, the figure I saw was about 800% a year, which is just mind-boggling. So how have you managed that growth? I mean, you're number 2 1 year on the Inc. 500 or 5,000 fastest-growing companies in America. How have you managed that growth? How did you pull that off?
Sure. So there's one employee that's still with me from the early days. Her name's Stacy. She was right out of college. She came on when we moved to an office in Boulder, maybe the second half of 14. She and I look back, we don't know how we did it. We just think it's incredible that we survived. We had no skills, no experience, and the people around us too. They were just, I don't know, landscapers that I would see that I would hire to help fulfill. That was War Bear and Little Big Hands, these giants that I had fulfilling One of them was straight out of prison. He had gunshot wounds to his chest and his groin, taser marks across his back, gang signs all over his arms. So my team wasn't the most experienced team. Some college students, gangsters, landscapers, and a philosophy professor. So we knew nothing about finance, operations. We just knew nothing about anything. It was a lot of mistakes, and somehow we survived. I mean, we almost didn't. So there were times when we nearly ran out of money, and then there were times when we couldn't keep up with the demand. So that was 2000, holiday of 2016. It was really exploding, the sales, and we just couldn't keep up with it. We had notifications on our website sending people to Amazon to buy our products because they could fulfill it, and we couldn't scale up fast enough. We had about 60 or 70 people in our warehouse, no professional management of that team, and the floor manager told me one day, I said, "Do you have it under control? I think we need to hire more temps." And he said, No, I got it under control. We got 4,000 orders out yesterday. Wow. I said, "Great. How many orders did you get yesterday?" He said, "About 7,000. I said, "Okay." I said, "And how many are in the queue?" He said, "About 40,000.
Oh, my gosh.
I was like, I'm not sure you have it under control.
That's awesome.
Oh, my God.
Yes, the word chaos seems to come out of this, doesn't it?
There were gangs of dogs running around in the warehouse, knocking people down by the knees. There were Slurpees being passed over the product. There's rap music and obscene, like Andrew played obscene comedy skits being played to everyone. I'd walk in there and be like, I'm not sure you guys should be playing this. With all these employees, it was not professional at all. Somehow, so to answer your question, I don't know how we made it, but somehow we did.
That's a great answer.
I know.
That's a fantastic answer.
And now we have a lot of pros. So we've gone through a long transition of hiring more and more experienced people. So now it actually is a well-run machine. We've got 15 people in China working for us full time. We have a terrific logistics partner in California and Tijuana with probably 180 people. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, fulfilling orders. Anyway, experts in all the different departments.
Mm-hmm. And how long did it take?
Nearly 300 employees.
Wow. So. How long did it take to kind of twist it from that kind of, the original group of people, good people, but they're just not, they don't have the right training perhaps, but then shift it to kind of to where you are today? What kind of time frame was that?
About 2 years.
2 years.
So to the beginning of 2017, we had a actual experience, so experts, and then that handful just exploded. I mean, because they were leaders who then hired out. For instance, the leader of our operations department, he took a department of one. It used to be just me, basically, when he was hired, and built it out to a team of 20 by the end of the year. And then the same thing would happen with finance. It used to just be Stacy, who was right out of school with a finance degree, and that team got built out to a team of 15 or 16 people in a year. And then the following year, we had to redo all of our systems and processes and put in more professionals. So about 2 years, but we're still transforming.
Awesome.
At Big Success, we're all about helping good people have more money to do more good. And what's great about what you're doing at PopSockets is that you are doing more good. Can you tell us about Poptivism and how you're helping make the world a better place?
Sure. So, from day one, my plan was to get rich as hell and use the money to do good, personally. As a philosophy professor, when I talk about ethics and talk about, how much good different activity could do, and ask my students, do you think you should stay in college, get a degree, become an investment banker and use the money to help save lives? Or do you think you should drop out of college and join the Peace Corps? Today, how are you going to make the biggest impact? I proposed to them that I should quit teaching, start a business, make millions of dollars, and that's the way I could make the biggest impact. I had no plans to do that at all.
Yeah.
But I used to joke around and say that. So when I started the business, that really was my plan. And then I started learning that the people around me had similar feelings. They wanted to make a positive impact, and I started realizing the company had a lot more leverage than I ever would personally. So I was looking for ways to leverage the company to make an impact rather than just make money personally and use that money. And I created a department of do-goods. That was in 2017, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I hired a director of do-goods, and her sole job was to do good.
I love that, though. A department of do good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So we started off with partnerships with organizations that support people with mobility challenges or mobility disorders, because these people tend to benefit from our product. They can hold their phones better and actually communicate with their family and friends. So we were hearing frequently from people with chronic arthritis, Parkinson's, ALS, just different disorders that our PopSocket grip was making it a lot easier for them to actually use their phones. People with prosthetic hands could then hold their phones. We ended up partnering with Parkinson's organizations, ALS organizations, Craig Hospital in Denver that works with people with spinal and brain injuries, and raising money for each of those organizations, doing campaigns. And then after about a year of that, we decided to open it up as a platform. And the idea was to make a lot more impact by letting the community decide what the cause, what cause matters to them. And allow them to customize a program. So right now you can go onto our website, you can design your own grip, so you can upload a design and you can tag any 501c3 and start raising money for them. So 50% of the sale, not just of the profit, but 50% of every sale will go to that nonprofit. And we have a similar program running in retail. So with Target, T-Mobile, trying to remember who our other partners are, but some other retail partners, where in retail you'll see a PopTivist grip, and part of that sale, I think in retail maybe it's a third of the sale goes to the charity that's chosen by a retail partner. So our idea is we no longer pick specific causes. Our cause is your cause. We support a platform to enable the community to support whatever cause they want.
And all of this just because you couldn't get your doggone earbuds untangled.
That's right. And more strangely, I found out a couple years later there was a video on YouTube that would have solved my headset problem. Had I actually just looked, none of this would have happened, because I ended up finding that video and using the technique. I never use my product to wrap my headset. I just stick my pointer finger and my pinky finger out and wrap my headset around them real quick, my cord, and then wrap it around there. Had I not been lazy and looked at YouTube, none of this would have happened.
Well, thank goodness you didn't like to go to YouTube that day.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, here you are with the Poptivism campaign. You've given millions and probably millions more to come. You're making the world a better place. And your product, PopSockets, it's just so fun. You can go to PopSockets.com to check out all of the wonderful offerings there. But David, what a pleasure to talk to you. And what an incredible story you have.
Thanks very much. This was fun.
And we thank you for listening today.
Until next time,
here's to your big success.
Tips to be your best with the Professor and Mary-Lynn for your big success.
Find big success at biggsuccess.com.